Hey guys, what we're going to be doing today is it's section 3, and it's over political parties. If you remember, if we were to go back and let me flip through my through the textbook, this chapter is all about the political process. Everything that involves politics, getting things done. It involves elections. We looked at public opinion, the role of media, what do we think about topics. We've looked at how do we get our opinions, how do our opinions form our family, our school, friends, personal factors like our age, whether we're single or married. All those things influence our opinion on things. We've also looked at interest groups. And an interest group is a group of people that tries to influence public policy, so they try to get laws passed that would benefit their group. And one assignment that you had last week was to pick or find some interest groups that you would join. There's agricultural interest groups, there's all sorts of societal groups, cause-based groups, people for the ethical treatment of animals. There's all sorts of groups. And it also includes labor unions. And their goal is to change public policy that would benefit the people in their group. Well, something that's similar to an interest group is a political party. And that's what we're going to be looking at today. With political parties, let's just start off with the definition. A political party is an organization that tries to elect its members to public office so its views can become policy. Republicans and Democrats. Those are the two most obvious political parties. But there's been other political parties throughout history, and we'll talk about that in just a couple minutes. With political parties, each party, and we're just use Republican and Democrats, they have their own set of beliefs. And we call this party ideology. What do Democrats want the government to do? What do Republicans want the government to do? And political parties have this as a base. And that's what sets Republicans apart from Democrats, which sets them apart from libertarians and socialists and members of the Green Party and Constitutional Party and the Communist Party. And do you remember the assignment that you did last week? It was the political compass test. And at the end, it put a dot somewhere in a box. If you were on the right-hand side, you were more conservative. If you're on the left-hand side, you're more liberal. If you're on the left-hand side, north of the x-axis, you were more authoritarian, more south, more libertarian. And this was a really important thing, and I hope you found it interesting because it shows you where you fall in relation to other people and in relation to groups. So if you didn't know if you're a Republican or Democrat, it asked your opinion on topics. And that helped you figure out where you fall on the political spectrum. Democrats are going to be more liberal. Conservatives or Republicans are going to be more, Republicans are going to be more conservative. And that's because it's where they fall on the political spectrum. It's their set of beliefs that puts them there. And your beliefs, your opinions on different topics put you on this political spectrum. Parties have several main roles. They have to pick people to run in elections. That's nominating candidates. They help in the election process. And then they help operate or run the government. Nominating someone, the way that most elections are held is through a primary system. So we have an election to figure out who the nominee is. And we call this a primary. And all the Republicans who want to run for a particular seat, they run in an election. And whoever gets the most votes is going to be the Republican nominee. And the Democrats do the exact same thing. All the Democrats that want to run for that seat, they run in a primary, in a race. And whoever gets the most votes is the Democratic nominee. They also, They also help with the electoral process. They get people registered to vote. They get people informed about the issues. And then political parties help run the government. The members of Congress and the House and the Senate, they are Republicans and Democrats. And they help run things. They pass laws. Republicans and Democrats who have been president, they enforce the laws. And so those are the party's three main roles. Here in the United States, you've heard me mention it's Republicans and Democrats, Republicans and Democrats. It's just a two-party system. We are pretty rare. Most countries have a multi-party system. And it just depends on the country. Israel, I believe, has something like 24, 26 political parties. England has several. Germany has a couple dozen political parties. Here in the United States, we got two. And so we are a two-party system. Now, a one-party system would mean that it's almost like a dictatorship. It's the only party there in the country, like China. Only the Communist Party can run. And then other countries, they're a multi-party system. It hasn't always been Republican and Democrat. Over time, things have changed. At first, we had the Federalists, Washington and Adams. They were Federalists. And the other party was the Democrat-Republican Party. And then the Federalists kind of died out, and the Democrat-Republican Party split. And so we have Democrats and Republicans. Now, we also had Whigs. We had progressives throughout time. But things have changed. And believe it or not, the Republicans at the time were a big government. Back in the day, political parties' beliefs differed. So the Republicans of today, or the Democrats of today, were not the same, didn't share the same beliefs as the Democrats and Republicans did in the 1800s. Things have changed over time. We call anyone that's not a member, or we call any party that's not a Republican or Democratic party, a third party. It's like the other party. These are minor political parties. How are parties organized? Well, there's a structure to them. There's a hierarchy. All the way at the top, we have national parties, and they help run national campaigns. We have state parties in the middle, and then we have local parties at the bottom. It's a hierarchy. At the local level, and we're talking neighborhoods. In St. Louis, there are political party offices in different neighborhoods that help run local politics. At the state level, the political parties oversee state races. And then at the national level, like I said, they handle the national races. So it's a pretty easy or simple hierarchy. We have local, state, national. Pretty simple. Political parties do have their benefits. A lot of people say, oh, I hate this party, I hate that party, or I hate both parties. But political parties do have good things about them. With the two-party system, it's either or. It's a choice. Republicans or Democrats. And in order for Republicans or Democrats to win, they have to appeal to the most people. And so what we see is that Republicans and Democrats, they both go for the middle. They both try to get as many moderate people as they can, because people on the extreme ends of the political spectrum, fewer and fewer people belong there. And so if Republicans and Democrats each took extreme ideas, people aren't going to like that, or not as many people are going to like that. And so they want to win elections. And so they're going to choose that middle chunk of people and that middle chunk of beliefs. And I bet if you were able to see other people's plot on the political spectrum, they fell. Here's the box. Most people fell right in this middle box. So if we had a box within a box, They would fall in that. They wouldn't be on that extreme ends. The Democratic Party, they tend to get a lot of support of labor unions, women, minorities, educated urban people, while the Republican Party is more about the rural areas, white men, religious conservatives, and businesses tend to favor Republicans. So that's a big, if you just want to take some big broad strokes of who likes or who supports Democrats and who supports Republicans, there you go. That's all I have for section 3. This was a real quick, brief overview of political parties. But what you need to do, the main points of political parties is you need to know what they do, how we are a two-party system, and what they do for us. And like I said, they're good. This two-party system provides stability. It appeals to moderates rather than extreme ideas. And those are the good things about political parties. We got one more section to go, and that'll be next week. Until then, have a good day.